my name is Scott Boggs, and I'm an attorney at the Boggs Law Group, and we want to talk for just a few minutes today about hurricanes and hurricane damage to real property and insurance related to that real property. So as you know, living here in the state of Florida, we often have to deal with the aftermath of a hurricane. And one of the most recent hurricanes, Hurricane Michael, back in 2018, slammed into the Panhandle as a Category 5 hurricane. That means it had wind speeds up to 150 miles an hour. It was a devastating storm. It churned up out of the Caribbean quickly and came from nothing in 2 days to a Category 5. It was such a powerful wind event that as it went through Florida and on into Georgia, it was still a Category 3 wind event. So we're talking about a significant amount of damage. And visiting that area, you saw forest after forest after forest with all the trees broken off at about 6 to 8 feet. And there was mountains of debris, and it took months and months and months for those people just to get utilities back and get cleaned up, let alone rebuilt. Well, one of the things that we saw in Hurricane Michael, which is kind of common, I guess, to all hurricanes, is that you have two kinds of damage, right? If you have a home and you're near the coast and you suffer a hurricane, you could suffer both flood damage and wind damage. So let's say you have a homeowner's policy and it has hurricane coverage, and you're going to have that dreaded hurricane deductible, which we'll talk about another day. You want to be covered for those damages associated with wind. But you might also have a flood policy. And I think that's a good idea. Here in Florida, I think just about everybody should have a flood policy. So what's going to come down is what is paid by flood insurance and what is paid by wind insurance. Your homeowners will be your wind insurer. And then your flood policy is ultimately backed by FEMA and is regulated by federal statutes. So you may have like a lot of damage. Let's say you lost your whole home, like many people did in Mexico Beach. Many of the people we represented in Mexico Beach, their home was just a slab. It was all that was left. So the flood insurer could come in and say, well, we think this was mostly wind. You had 150 mile an hour winds for quite a while before the flood surge ever hit. The wind carrier could come in and say, well, we think this is flood. It was obviously taken and pushed away. And so you're going to have to deal with flood versus wind. What will the flood carrier pay and what will the wind carrier pay? And what we saw in Mexico Beach is many of the wind carriers paid very little and blamed it all on flood. Well, in that particular storm, we know it was a horrific, catastrophic wind event and had a licensed video showing the wind well before the storm surge. And so we were able to take up and advocate on people's behalf and argue for the wind damage. And we're very successful, and we had hundreds of clients at Mexico Beach. So when you're thinking about a hurricane, the first thing you have to think about is what is covered. Do I have wind coverage through my homeowner's policy? Do I have flood coverage? After the hurricane hits, you want to call both of those carriers right away. You want to document as much stuff as you possibly can yourself. One of the things that always becomes a big issue is contents. For all those people living in the state of Florida, if you're near the coast especially, I would do my contents list now. Get a video camera, walk around your home, video what you own, call out the name of the manufacturer. That will help you tremendously if you have a horrific loss. Because we can't remember all the stuff that we own, and it's surprising when you go through all the stuff that you own, stuff that's in closets, stuff that's in drawers, and contents is one of those things that you're going to have some justification for. Maybe it's photographs, maybe it's receipts, maybe it's invoices. But I'm telling you, that little video log, if you just walk through your house and video your contents, will be a tremendous help to you. So early documentation, make the claim. You may have some post-loss obligations regarding how to mitigate the damage and so forth. But my strong suggestion is, if your carrier is postponing payment, if they're dragging it out, don't wait a year. Don't postpone this, because it will just set you back in getting, your compensation that you really deserve. If they, in 90 days, they should pay. If they don't pay in 90 days, then you should get an attorney. And you should begin having representation. And because we've seen a lot of folks that waited too long, too late, and they regretted it. So again, this is Scott Boggs with the Boggs Law Group, and thanks for your time and listening about insurance.